And now, WJCU University Heights takes a break from the Heights programming to bring you
Jewish Community Radio.
a weekly half hour every Friday. We bring you what's happening in the Jewish community, both locally and around the world. And yeah, no bumper music. That means we are pre-recording. I don't hate that. Why do they call pre-recording? We're recording, but for some reason, the radio they call pre-recording.
Well, I think it would be better to say um, we're recording it live.
Well, no, we are doing a live to air, which means is
Right.
that no edits. Would whatever is going on now is exactly what it came out on the radio. Except we would have had information a couple of days earlier, but we do Wednesday because it just works out best for both
You
of
just
us,
get
our
to hear all
schedules.
of our uglies, ahs, all of it, warts and all.
Yeah, so you're getting it, no edits, just live, live to tape. We call it on the radio, but I always never really understood why they call it pre-record because either recording or you're pre. I don't know, whatever. Either way, it's grammatically redundant. But that's a radio terminology. What do I know? Anyhow, Elisheva, we have a lot to cover today, as we
Oh, I
always
figured out
do.
why it's called a pre-record. By the way, I think it's called a pre-record because otherwise, maybe what you're doing is like if you're live on the air. Because I've seen this on TV shows that this program was previously recorded.
Well, yeah,
So, like
but
for example, if you see this with an award show and they're doing a tape delay.
yeah, but if you're saying it's recorded, maybe advanced recorded, not previous. I don't know. Either way, it doesn't make a difference. I think we're nitpicking at this point here. Either way.
Okay.
But whatever. Anyhow, the point though is that we have no idea why this terminology came into being, but it's radio terminology. So, Elisheva, we have some news today. And the one thing I wanted to do first, I think, is most important because, okay, we're pre-recording on. I hate that again. Wednesday. It's something that happened on Wednesday, and we're
And
hoping
this
that
is
by
going to it would happen Tuesday,
happened Tuesday.
but
I'm
it's
sorry.
it happened Tuesday, but it's just gonna it's a developing story. So perhaps by the time this airs on Friday, there'll be more information. It'll be more out there. And actually, I'm hoping that the mainstream media picks it up
Yes.
because as of right now, it's only being reported in the Cleveland Jewish News or on in groups within social media that are
And
all towards stopping anti-Semitism. That's really all I've seen so
exactly. I
far.
was going to say the same thing. I had this from a on a stop anti-Semitism group on that big social media thing that went down a couple days ago, uh, which kind of makes me
I
laugh.
missed it. I was at work.
Well, the way I figure is they went to their own jail and got out of their own jail faster than anybody else has. So
Well, if you own the jail, it makes it easier.
that's true too.
Anyway,
Yeah, we digress. So we're hoping that this story is a moot point and resolved. Maybe the person will be arrested or at least identified, the perpetrator. And I'll say perpetrator because that's what we have here. Okay, let me tell the story first, if I may.
okay.
So, a we knows a lady wearing a baseball cap and driving what it looks like to me by the photo taken from somebody's doorbell camera is driving a black or dark brown or dark purple, um, kind of like one of those short bed rear pickup trucks, but it has four doors, so it's kind of like a hybrid car pickup truck. I don't know what it's called, but it has a second row seating in a pickup truck, and the person. Let me see if I can get the exact quote here. Well, sorry, I can't read the quote
You
because of
you
the
cannot read the exact quote.
yeah, because the expletives correct. But basically, she made some nasty comments about Jews in general, and threw
Towards a
apparently
13-year-old girl.
a 13-year-old girl exactly, and threw a bottle at her, possibly a beer bottle, at the 13-year-old girl. And the girl's identified. She's clearly wearing her school uniform on the way to school, and it says here she was shaken up. Yes, obviously. And here's my thing about that. Okay, number one, we know what kind of vehicle it is. We know it was, according to the report here, it's a white lady wearing a baseball cap. Now, there can't be that many people driving this type of vehicle in the area. So I'm asking people to, if you've seen this vehicle, if you know who may own it, please notify the University Heights Police Department because they're looking for the perpetrator. And the UHPD's phone number, and I'll give it again later on when we talk about this, is 216 932 1800. 216 932 1800. And so this person is yelling at a 13-year-old. And only I can really
Can
say.
I just say something about
Please.
like okay, I'm hoping hate groups are actually listening to our show.
And I hope people who know this lady, I hope even sure this lady is listening to the
But
show.
I gotta say something to the hate groups. We have said this before, but we're gonna continue saying it. All right. When you're attacking children, when you're hiding in the dead of night, when you're doing things like, I don't know, drawing swastikas with chalk paint, or making a, and they're all badly drawn, by the way, or with on a pepperoni pizza. See, not only what you're doing is you're showing your cowardice, you're showing your lack of originality, and I mean, but it's even more disgusting. This is a 13-year-old child.
Yeah, if you want to pick on somebody, pick on me. Okay, and I'm going to say it right now, I dare you to pick on me because I will respond. And I may not. I'm a little older, so I may not get the last punch in.
You might not be as nice as that child.
Yeah, but I promise whoever it is, if you're trying to fight with me, you're going to feel it. I can promise you that. But all I'm going to say really is that yes, cowardice. Oh wow, look at me! I attacked a 13-year-old girl. I'm so proud of myself. Really? You're proud of that? You actually yelled at this girl? You obscenities? Hey, if it was you, turn yourself into the University Heights Police Department. They're looking for you. We know your vehicles. We have a photo of it on a doorbell type camera. We can see the color of it. We know what it looks like. We don't have your face. But believe me, you are going to be identified because, first of all, I'm sure you've told people about this because people do this kind of stuff. They can't keep secrets. They got to brag. They got to tell somebody. So one of your friends already knows. It may not be your friend. But we're hoping that they're going to report that to University Heights Police Department at 216-932-1800. I'm sure they're looking for you. And you know something? I'm going to say also what I said before. And I've been right every time. University Heights Police Department, they catch the people. When an anti-Semite attacked, what's that place called? Heights Jewish Center. They got him. The one, that building on Green Road. They got him. They're going to get you. And I'm sure you told somebody who already knows. And I'm hoping by the time this airs, the police already found you and got to you. But you attack a 13-year-old girl. Wow, you're brave. The people who paint on swastikas on the fence poles of a cemetery. Wow. You are so brave. So brave. Incredible. You know, it's just amazing how these people think and play these stupid games. How they try to, claim how proud they are. Look at me. I'm somebody who did this. I'm somebody who did that. Don't worry. They're going to catch you. I promise you, the UHPD, they always catch their people. And by the way, on top of that, that reminds me.
There he is! Yay!
You're back. I got you. But so it reminds me. I was gonna say, I've heard people complain, and this is related. I'm sure Elisheva will know what I'm talking about. There are people who have said things like, "Why do the Jews get so much security?" Well, guess what? You know why? Because our synagogues are under attack. Yeah, they have been. And by the way, We pay for that. We pay our donations to the Jewish Community Federation, pay for that security. And Robert Kraft, probably a lot of people know who he is, Robert Kraft, famous football team owner, said, it's in billboards. Oh, Shelly, you know what? You know about the pink billboards, right?
Um,
Oh, you
no.
don't. Okay. All over where he lives in New England, I'll read you one. Does your church need security cameras? Because our synagogues do. Yeah, we're the ones who are under attack. That's why we are paying for those police officers to be there. Another
Well,
one's built.
I told this story, I know. When I went to Europe about a year and a half ago,
Mm-hmm,
and we wanted to go to a historic synagogue in Amsterdam, I had to contact the rabbi. I had to give them my name, my husband's name, my children's names, which community we belong to, rabbis that will vouch for us. And then I had to, then when we got there, this was the Portuguese synagogue in the Old Jewish Quarter in Amsterdam.
mm-hmm.
And then when we got there, guards were standing outside checking our passports to make sure we really were who we were and that we were on the list. That's how tight security has to get at synagogues because people might just come in and do something. And we're not making this up.
Yeah. And by the way, I want to read you one more of the famous Robert Kraft billboards. We
Okay.
were just 75 years since the gas chambers. So, no, a billboard calling out Jew hate isn't an overreaction. And by the way, we lost a Holocaust survivor recently, someone who I know. Um, and my mother, who's a survivor, is still around, thank God. Um, okay, I'm going to read a couple more here, okay?
Okay.
You didn't like it when we didn't defend ourselves, and you don't like it when we do. Doesn't leave much wiggle room. Yeah. These are the Robert Kraft billboards. Uh, Now, I'll give you one. This is a little bit, somebody might take a little touchy, but I think he's making a point here. Being woke and anti Semitic is like being a vegan who eats veal. I'll give you one more of his billboards. I promise to love being Jewish 10 times more than anyone hates me for it. Yes. These are the famous Robert Kraft billboards up in, I guess it's Boston area. I'm not sure exactly where. But it rings true. We are just simply not going to put up with it anymore. The Jewish community is just livid with what's going on right now, especially when you're attacking a 13-year-old girl. And by the way, yes, UHPD 932-1800. Yes, I'm going to
Please
mention a bunch more
provide
times.
information if there hasn't already been.
Yeah, because let's be honest here. Someone has to know who's black, probably black or dark blue, probably black though. Uh, Four-door pickup truck is with a short bed in the back and a lady driving it. About it was let's see here. It was at 4:56/4:57 p.m. So
So
it was
the girl was getting out of school, getting off the
getting
bus,
out of
coming
school. Yeah,
home.
yeah. And it was somebody who, I'm not giving the names, but there are articles all over CJN.org which have the names. Somebody who, I'm guessing by the name, is probably not Jewish, sought to defend the girl and reported a lot of information about this. We said we have a photo. And uh, I'm hoping that this person is going to be found. And yeah,
So
I can't believe. I'm sorry. I'm just incensed that somebody is. Oh, I'm so brave. I'm gonna attack a 13-year-old. I'm sorry. It has me a little riled up, as you can tell.
I was actually at I was at school today when I found out about it, and I had to kind of watch myself. I was working with a student,
Uh huh.
and and I just said, this is really really sad. This is 2021, and I said, look at all this hate still going around the world, and he just couldn't believe it, like
Yeah,
that there
and
are
by the way,
people still out there like this.
I wear a kippah. I wear something in my head everywhere I go, and I've gotten this up for years. And now, but you know something? I had one when I was a kid too, by the way, but a few when I was a kid. But still, people are just whatever. Listen, let's change topics. I want to talk about something here, which I think that we can use as a point of education. And
Okay.
it's a really sad story about what's happening, and it's hit the major Cleveland, or one of the major Cleveland local news channels, and I was not happy about it. But we might as well talk about it because I think we could talk about this, the educational part of this one, about how we can enlighten people about how the Jewish community operates. And the story was that there's a synagogue in University Heights, which is built into a house.
Well, they bought a house
Mm-hmm.
about maybe 10, 15 years ago,
And
and
there's a rabbi who's the head of the synagogue, but he's living in his own house.
right. So they bought a house. They bought a house actually from a Cleveland family who had moved to Israel,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just started using the house as their living facility and as a place of worship.
Now, basically, is that the
And,
living
and
room.
I just want to point out, it's been operating. I actually was there for a Simchat Torah celebration in 2009.
So
So
it's
they've
been
been
there for a long
operating
time.
2007 beyond, maybe 2008. So it didn't just pop up yesterday. I think that's important for people to understand.
Yeah, so the synagogue's been there for a long time. And by the way, I should say, okay, before anything else, we have a long tradition in Judaism of using homes for synagogues. Why? Well, first of all, a lot of people, communities couldn't afford a synagogue. So people, couple families got together and they did their prayers in the living room, which is what we have here. This is how it started out. Just a living room, people did prayers, and the rest of the week went back to normal. Because you can drive, let's say, to a synagogue on the weekdays, but you can't do it on Shabbat and holidays.
Well, it also happened in America and even in Cleveland. The earliest synagogues here in Cleveland started off, some were renting halls, some were renting houses, but even out here in what I call the Jewish community in the suburbs, synagogues before they moved up from the Cleveland into the suburbs, they started off in homes.
And but
This actually was the topic of a whole chapter in a book that came out around late 90s, early 2000 called Jew versus Jew, where Young Israel, which is now Young Israel of Cleveland, started off in a house on Green Road for services. So it's a very common occurrence that while you're getting your money together for a building, to use a house. And usually it's always someone's house. We don't just buy a house and say we're going to start praying in it.
but that has happened. But for the most part, though, you're right. It's somebody's house. But for example, there's some that are by a relative of mine, I'll say, but somebody also lives in the house. So the house is never really permanently, a synagogue. But still, the what it boils down to is that you have the same thing going on in Christianity and probably Islam as well at first, because a lot of times our people start a congregation and a few people get together for a prayer meeting, and sooner or later it ends up growing, and you eventually end up building a church or something. So
Well,
it's
and
not anything.
some churches are a breakaway from other churches and they meet in houses, or some churches they might host Bible studies in their houses.
Yeah,
This is not an uncommon occurrence, is our point. Actually, a lady I work with at my school, her church has gotten so small in membership that they're now meeting. I think they're down to a classroom in a community center, but they used to have a whole giant church. But again, this is not an uncommon occurrence.
and by the way, on that topic, there's one local big building synagogue that is also now using a chapel for every day, even Sabbath services, because they don't need the whole big synagogue. Too much for them. So yeah, so it happens. Synagogues grow up, churches grow up, some straight down, and this is what happens. Anyhow, the point though is that it got kind of nasty when there was people spying on the Jews coming into the synagogue as a count or whatever, because there was a whatever. It's going for the courts, a whole big battle, which I can't stand. It irritates me to no end. But here's the thing: when you spy on people going into a synagogue for accounting purposes or whatever, that irritates me. I don't want to be spied on about who's going to synagogue, where they're coming from. That to me is despicable. And a lot of people felt the same way. And that raised the whole stakes, this whole big thing even higher. But I think the real essence we're talking about here is not this. We really wanted to talk about, like I said, the educational part. Yes, Jews have, for thousands of years, met in houses. We also, for example, if somebody passes away, God forbid, we do the prayers in the house. Morning and evening prayers in the house. And people walk into the house constantly for condolence calls, Shiva.
And the reason why the prayers are in the house is because when somebody's sitting Shiva and they're in a week of mourning, we're not really supposed to. The mourners aren't supposed to have to do much because we're in mourning. So it even goes so far as we're going to comfort the mourner, we're going to visit the mourner, we're going to do the prayers in their house.
We
It's very all encompassing.
we bring them the food. We clean up the mess afterwards. They have to do. They don't have to buy anything. They just have to be at home for the visitors coming to make the condolence calls, and that's all that. And that's what we do. And it's a hard thing when somebody passes away in the family, and we basically say, "Hey, you're not alone. We're here for you." In I guess in a bigger sense, but still, when someone gets engaged, there's an engagement party. People come in and out of the house just for a few 5-10 minutes, say congratulations, make a blessing on something, a piece of cake or something, to take part in a festive meal, and they go on. So else come, people come, but the Jewish home is really, I guess we're saying, is really an important part of being Jewish. And I want to talk about also a little bit about Hasidim and who they are. I talked about this a little bit, but I really never got into it. I think this is a good time to get into it. So, I forget what year it was about. I don't know. I forget what year it was. I'm bad with time, forgive me. It was a great rabbi known as the Baal Shem Tov, the master, the owner of a good name. He was one of the people who just spoke glowingly, never criticized, and always found a way to make things and people feel better. And there are many stories about him and what he did and in making people's lives better. More than I can count. Baal Shem Tov stories, we call them. And a local guy, I think I had a show years ago, who wrote a book of Baal Shem Tov stories. Wonderful. Anyhow, I digress. So there was a little movement that was starting because, one rabbi said, I got a better idea. People are starting to forget and not really paying attention to Jewish identity and who we are, etc. So I got an idea. Let's make it really simple for people. Follow the Rebbe, follow the teacher, and that's all you got to do. Just follow, keep it simple, learn to do the basics, follow the rabbi. Okay. As such, the Hasidic movement was born. We will follow the rabbi, and go from there. Later on, over time, there were people who were in opposition to the Hasidic movement, which is growing by leaps and bounds. People said, no, I don't like the Hasidic idea. This
Why?
is not, well, they thought that it was a step away from having to actually learn Torah and study Torah, but just follow the rabbi, which is kind of too simplistic for them. And they said, and it was basically what it was: follow the rabbi, you're done. But they felt the people who were known as the Misnagdim, the opposition. And so you had Hasidim and the opposition, the Misnagdim, two groups. And so the Misnagdim, they basically said, no, we are going to study Torah and study and study and study, and that's that. Where the Hasidim said, yeah, hey, let's have fun. Let's party a bit. Let's be cool with the rabbi. Now, over time, the Hasidic movement has grown to a point where the Hasidim are most of them, actually probably the vast majority of our Hasidim are very, very well educated in Judaism. Not so much, as others, but they know their stuff. Don't kid yourself. And the Misnagdim, everybody else, whether you're Mizrahi, whether you're Shivish, whatever yeshiva, you're part of that group. And they're basically saying, no, we're going to learn and that's it. We're going to follow the Torah. We're going to do it ourselves. But still, the groups have grown and over the years. And today, a lot of people hear Hasidim, they think, oh, yeah, that's Chabad. Yeah, they're the fastest growing group around. No question. They're big. They probably have half the synagogues in Cleveland are probably Chabad. They have one that meets in a house in Mayfield Heights. They have one on the west side somewhere. They have downtown. They have a building. During that big political convention, they rented a restaurant, and they took it over and had kosher food there. So they're really really big and growing, and but still, there are other groups. First of all, there are probably about I don't know hundreds of Hasidic group. One of my neighbors is from a group. I think he's the only guy from his Hasidic group in Cleveland. It's a small group overall. There are some groups that are okay. Let me give you a funny. Can I tell them the funny story? The funny outsider Hasidic group.
Yes.
Okay, there's one group that is weird. You've seen them around, and they usually make television because they're the group of Jews who are basically man bites dog. They go out and they believe that Israel should not be exist until Messiah comes, and so they fight Israel, and they're a small group, probably by maybe 100, maybe really small, but they're seen on TV all the time because they're so weird. They're the ones who will go to Iran and sit with the guy who wants to demolish Israel with nuclear bombs. Meanwhile, part of the group lives in Israel. Don't ask. I don't get it either. But so that group makes the headlines all the time. But then again, every religion has their nuts. Dare I say? Maybe it's not the right word today, but they're outsiders. Let me use a nicer terminology, the outsiders. For example, the Westboro Baptist Church. Most Christians would say, don't judge me by them. I'm not part of that. And, of course, most Muslims would probably say, hey, I'm not part of the Taliban. Don't judge me by that. And we say the same thing. Don't judge me by the Tory Carter group. Because we're not that. Every religion has their, how should I put it nicely? I'm going to put it as nicely as I can and call it real extremists.
Fringe groups.
Beyond fringe. Okay? But anyhow, the point though is that, yeah, they're no wacky, so don't judge us by them. Everyone has their crazies. But anyhow, the point though is that the Hasidic movement is really about love. It's about Judaism, about expressing Judaism and God, and all in a good way. For example, in New York City, the Chabad guys will put tefillin, the phylacteries, on people's arms. You're Jewish? Let's make a bracha together, make a blessing together on matzah, on Passover. Let's light Hanukkah candles everywhere. Then you have the Breslovs. Cool. These guys are cool. They go ahead and they give out prayer books everywhere. And pamphlets about Judaism everywhere. They're a cool, fun group. Then you have, I like to call the Nanas. They are they follow Rav Meir Nachman. And they're the ones who will, this is kind of funny. You see, Israel, it's hilarious. Suddenly you'll hear your car is blasting this one song over and over again. Everyone stops in the middle of traffic, gets out, dances around the car during the red light, hops back in the car before it turns green, and keeps going. It's hilarious. But you know what? Listen, we have fun with it. We mostly, okay, fine. Everyone has their one group of crazies, but we're basically a fun, happy group of people. And the Hasidim are the same way, for the most part. And some of those, of course, the crazies who everybody's embarrassed by. With that, Elisheva, all I can say is that I hope that people find in themselves happiness in their own religion and their own practice.
I also wanted to make sure we have people understand. I actually here's another point of education that I want to bring up.
We got 20 seconds.
Okay, basically, not every person who's Orthodox is Hasidic.
Yes.
So you might see someone in a fur hat on Saturday morning walking down the street. They are more than likely Hasidic. A lot of times people assume Orthodox. I'll see this in the paper. Hasidic, i.e., ultra-Orthodox Jews. There are actually ultra-Orthodox Jews that are not Hasidic.
And I hate calling them ultra-Orthodox. Whatever. Listen, I tell you what, let's pick that topic up next week.
Okay.
But for right now, candle lighting for tonight, October 8th, is no later than 6. Sorry, yeah, no, wait a minute. No later than, no later than 6:38 live radio. And Shabbat
Mm.
ends no earlier than 7:36 p.m. We're a couple seconds over, so Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.